as more and more people start to feel pain and we start to see more destruction and heartache and evil, if you will, in the world, I understand why you will feel fearful, why you feel angry, why you feel sad. But here is one of the things that I want you to know. Excuse me. I want you to know that the saying happiness is an inside job is sort of true. What you're missing in this world where you want to feel inner peace and happiness is less about going on in the world and you needing to change the world, which is a very unattainable goal, by the way, and more about what you pull from the metaphysical world, if you will. You can call it source energy, you can call it God, you can call it whatever you like. It does not matter because, in my opinion, it's all very much a very similar source of energy. And so this morning I wrote something that came from my heart, and I'm going to share it with you on this video, and this will also go on my podcast on Spotify. And if you're interested in learning more and working with me, you can obviously head over to brandyellen.com or facebook.com/Brandy Ellen, and we can connect through the links in my bios online. But for now, I want to talk a bit about what came to me this morning while I was sitting here getting ready for my online work to try to get some publishing work done for people. I should say editing and writing work done for some people in their books, because I like to ghostwrite and format self-published books, or for indie authors. I work for indie authors. And I also life coach people who want to change their habits. So this today is a lot of bit about changing your habits. In a world where we're constantly being tossed anger, pain, death, all these things our human minds are not equipped for. And so here is a sermon, if you will, a speech, an idea that came to me this morning. And I typed it with my fingers as fast as it was flowing from my mind and my heart. And I hope it helps you in some way, shape, or form today when you're watching this. Because today, at this moment, if you're watching this and you get through it and you're still here at 2.5 minutes later, then this message was meant for you. So stay with me till the end, where I give you a tip on how to find inner peace and a little bit of inner happiness at the same time. I used to think that happiness was an inside job, but as time goes on, I feel this sentence doesn't quite explain how someone can find happiness inside of their being. As the world grows darker and people start to see more human harm being done all over the world, it is important more than ever to start finding ways for each of us to show up in joy, kindness, and light. I fear it is often the darker emotions of anger, sadness, and grief that we express so freely about a stranger's passing in the brutal or from the brutal videos we see online. Human beings are not meant to see this level of chaos in the world, and we are not built with brains or emotions that can comprehend the velocity of the situation. Let's face it, if human beings, myself included, are capable of harmful things and are capable of much evil, if we don't keep ourselves in check, then we must do something different so that we don't become the same fear-mongering, angry citizens of this world. Something I heard recently was something about, I think, the founding fathers or something, and it was along the lines of the fact that our way in America here, the United States of America, where I live, that the democratic republic we have here in the United States of America would only work if we were a virtuous people. But what's happened in lifetimes before me, I'm sure, it's been happening for a very long time, our virtues have changed, have shifted, have been lost, perhaps. Each of you will have an opinion on that, I am sure. But I want to ask you a really honest question right now. Do you think we live in a world, or at least a country in the United States, that are full of virtuous people? Do you feel that America is shining its light and living, and the humans in this country are living on good, solid moral foundations? Or do you see a country that has fallen prey to outside belief systems and other countries infiltrating our country in a way that has transformed the way Americans think, breathe, and live? Now, let me be very clear. I use the word infiltrated, and it's a little strong of a word, and sometimes my word usage isn't always right, guys. So when you're listening to this, understand that my intentions with what came to me is to help us get to a better place of inner peace, love, and joy, not only as just a country in America, but as a people in the world, united, because we are all human beings. A lot of us have a national pride of our country, right? We have this vision of what our country should be. And then others have a vision of what the world should be. They look at the world as a country. And each of those are okay, right? At the end of the day, I think we need to figure out we're all on the same page here. It isn't political, it isn't religious, it's not against each other, right? We're for each other. And at least me, I know my intentions in my heart. I am always for you, all of you. I know it is not my place to judge you. It is my place to show up in kindness, compassion, and to be the shoulder you need or the ear to listen, okay? The heart to lend some light to you. So I'm going to continue now. Sadly, these conversations talking about how departed our country has come from our virtuous, or at least agreed upon set of moral values, has become a political conversation. Personally, I feel the conversation of having good intentions is not a political thing. In fact, Wayne Dyer has a whole book called The Power of Intentions, okay? And that's not political. So pick it up. I own it. I've read it. I'm reading it again as an audiobook. The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. So I don't think this conversation is political by any means, right? Personally, I feel the conversation of having good intentions is not a political thing. Discussing how our country was originally founded, or at least the values that we were supposed to stand upon as a whole, is not political. It is human. I've had conversations in the past with my now adult children about how I don't think something like anarchy would ever work. You know, my 3 children have 3 different beliefs, and it's okay. I raised them to have 3 different beliefs and to be who they are, actually. Right? And so over the years, they've changed, they've shifted, they've grown. But at one point, the topic of conversation around the dinner time table, because yes, we had dinner as a family most times, was something about anarchy. And I felt anarchy would not work because once you start becoming a community of people who want to live together and start families and eat food, that sort of thing, you need to have a common set of rules, even just basic ones, that we all agree upon, much like raising kids. And how we will treat each other and what the consequences are. And we need a leadership panel and maybe just a group of elders in the community. But we need some sort of leadership panel that will hold us to these values and consequences. Think of it like a parent overseeing a big group of children, right? Or a daycare center seeing over a group of children. No matter where we are and what age we are a species who, once we get this huge group of people, we do need a group of elders, a group of leaders who can hold us together and hold us accountable for the values we all agreed upon, right? So when my kids were younger, especially my sons, hey, when you do this, you're going to get this consequence. And sometimes it was just a natural consequence that I would forewarn them that, hey, you go out barefoot in the snow, you're going to get cold, but hey, you'll survive, right? You don't wear your coat out in the snow, but you'll survive. We had a family counselor, so it taught me a lot about letting go as a parent and letting natural consequences occur. Unfortunately, in society right now, so many of us are online. You're listening to this on a computer or a smartphone or a radio connected to your phone right now, right? We're all disconnected in some way. There's no consequences for your actions anymore, so we can be mean, we can be evil, we can instill fear in others. And that's a little bit of the problem, in my opinion. So no matter the method in which we get to a space where we all can agree on how we should treat each other, can we at least agree on how we should all treat each other? And then look in the mirror and truly be honest with yourself if you're showing up that way. Because let me tell you what, I don't always show up in kind. I don't always say the nicest things. I'm not always perfect because none of us are, okay? I say hurtful things. I hurt people's feelings. I make horrible choices, and I've made horrible choices in my life. Not a single one of us is completely innocent. Not a single one of us is always kind. That's unrealistic to set as a standard for yourself. And if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and think that you are always kind and always good, you need to please check yourself. Okay? All right. So no matter the method or, the method in which we all agree to get to a space where we can learn how to just treat each other, this is the time that we will learn how to live in peace amongst each other. Because that reality is what we need. Every single person on the planet right now is screaming in some shape or form to gain inner peace or inner happiness as a means to feel better and value their life again. They're sad, they're broken, we're lost, we don't know what to do, and we're screaming and we're acting out and we're being so emotionally driven. It's driving all of us insane. People often tell me I live in a world and look through the world through a lens of rose-colored glasses. Fine. But I would rather live with rose-colored glasses on and see the goodness in humanity and the beautiful kindness that we're all capable of expressing, rather than seeing bad and darkness and evil among each of the fellow beings that I feel connected to. Perhaps this makes me a little selfish. Sure, I am selfish because I believe we're all connected. We're all connected, and I want each of us to learn how to find that inner happiness, or perhaps just a little bit of inner peace. Because when you ache, I ache. When I ache, you ache. Whether you realize it or not, we are all connected in this metaphysical world that we cannot see. When you start to consume, as the world continues to grow darker and people continue to become more broken and harm each other, I want you to take pause. Take a moment each time you see these awful, evil behaviors and just bow your head and speak love into the world and into your heart. It looks something like this. Please, dear God Source, please give me the energy of love and peace and help me spread love and light into this world. Please, dear God Source, allow me to show up in kind and compassion and be gracious to those in my life, so that by being gracious, kind, and compassionate to those in my immediate circle, they will then go on and be the same. And then they will go on and be the same. And may this bring a domino effect around the world, one small group of friendship, family, and people at a time. Amen, if you wish. You could do something like that. Why not? Do it before you eat. Because here's the problem that happens. When you start to consume a lot of media that pulls you into the space of depression, despair, sadness, anger, pain, hurt, all the heavy things, I want you to take a minute and pause to give yourself a time out, as you would do to your toddler or teenager. I mean, if you don't have parents, sometimes you want to give your cat or dog a timeout because they are insane. I've got a girlfriend with emus. Are they ever insane? You want to give them a timeout? Okay, that's what happens. You need to give yourself a freaking timeout, okay? We all need one from time to time because we are ridiculous sometimes, myself included. So when you start to feel all those dark feelings or heavy, you feel heavy, depressed, anxious, you cry, doom, whatever it is, I want you to take a moment. Pause. Give yourself a timeout as you would do your toddler or teenager. Take yourself away from the situation and close your eyes as I just did. And envision something that brings lightness to your heart. You don't have to say a whole prayer, affirmation, whatever I just did, right? But you could just do this. You could focus on a vision of your favorite flower, your favorite color, perhaps a favorite chair. Guys, come on, I don't even care. Something that makes you feel lighter and a little bit of happiness. For me, the color purple brings me so much joy. So maybe on this particular day, I'm way too freaking heavy. I'm in my anxious mind because I do lean anxious. I do have generalized anxiety disorder. I do well coping with it, but it comes up every so often, right? We got this world that's so heavy. I'll literally think of a purple lilac. The smell, the texture, the petals and shapes. And it gets me calm. It brings me away from whatever thoughts and media are consuming my heart in this moment and making me dark. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe you can't visualize that. So maybe you sit at a window and watch the birds and the squirrels outside at a bird feeder, or you do something similar. Whatever it is, it just needs to be something to redirect your focus on either the present moment or something that makes you feel lighter, because that's what you need to do for a timeout in these moments of anger and fear and despair. When you start to do this at first, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to pretend this is easy and you're just going to wake up and perfect this. It's going to take time. You know, in my Habits Equal Life book, I talk about the different habits, the different techniques to change a habit for the rest of your life. Okay? So it takes time. Don't think it's going to happen overnight. So when you start to do this, you start to master it, you will become more of the observer of your emotions, and it will start to become a habit where you become a new person. You start to connect with Source, or you may call it God. The point is that you start to connect with this loving, light, powerful source of energy that helps soothe you when times are difficult. I truly believe that we are not equipped to cope with the world's pain. That is not our job. Our brains are still caveman brains. They are not much evolved from the days of needing to know when danger was near. And at that time, danger was near. You were going to die. If a big old creature wanted to eat you and it was nearby and your spidey senses was saying, danger, danger, you were going to die if you didn't get away from this situation. But we live in a world now where that part of our brain, that part of our emotion is triggered all the time, but we're not going to die. It might be painful, but we're not going to die. More times than not, we're pretty safe. So now we're being fed fear for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and our brain is overactive. That part of it is way overactive, which is where this becoming an observer of your life and pausing and giving yourself a freaking time out is going to come into play to help you be a little more calm and find that inner happiness and peace. It is unacceptable for each of us to consume this much fear and this much badness and this much evil in the world. Because quite frankly, there's just as much goodness and positive experiences in this world, but that doesn't actually pay the bills. The media is a business. They need to make money, so they need to focus on what's going to get people watching and get people consuming it and addicted to what they have to share. And let's face it, human beings are more addicted to the darkness and the fear and all that stuff than they are of the lightness and the positive stories. We like to say that we love those positive stories, and I don't doubt you do. But what gets you addicted is that roller coaster of the fear emotions. Why do you think narcissists and abusive partners keep you clung to them and bonded to them? Because they bring you on a roller coaster ride of emotions, just like the media does. And I'm not saying the media is evil, and I'm not saying all these things are bad. It's good to know a little bit of what's going on in the world. It's good to be connected. But we don't need to consume as much as we are of it, is all I'm saying. We must learn to give ourselves a time out and do so as often as possible. We live in a world where mental health is more accepted than ever before in most workplaces. And many of us are also working remotely from home, and others are on state assistance and do not need to leave the house very often. So no matter what you do for a living or not, we can all take pause to practice becoming the observer of our emotions, thoughts, and such. We can pause and redirect to something that brings us joy, a vision, a scent, a person. And if you must cry during this pause, do it. Do not be afraid of crying. Gosh, I grew up, in my adult years and raising the kids, I was always afraid of showing my tears and crying. I would hide in the shower and cry. Don't hide your tears. Crying is completely natural, and it is a release of all the energy you're holding on to. So cry. Let those tears flow. Cry, cry, cry. Blubber face cry. Get it out. You don't need to hold on to this stuff anymore. It's not for you to hold, my dear. The more you give yourself this time out, and remember that we must be the light in this world as often as we can, the more you will start to see the world through a different lens. The more the world will become more peaceful and safe. Once this shift starts to happen, you will then find some sort of inner happiness or inner peace that came from that source you utilize to pause and observe. The more you connect with Source, the more you connect with God, if you will, the more you ask something outside of yourself to bring you some love and joy, the more you genuinely wish for that change in your life, the more you will start to see the good in this world, the good in yourself, the value of who you are. And it's not going to be easy. I won't pretend to tell you it's easy. It's hard. It's really hard when you've lived in a world where you feel anxiety and depression and the world has pulled you down so heavy. It won't be easy, my dears. But I promise you it will be worth it if you can just find that light again. Find that love. Find that energy of Source. Don't consume so much fear. Don't do it. Don't harm yourself like that. I pray that this message ends up in the hands of whoever needed to hear it today, and that it brings you a little bit of hope in your life where hope seems to have withered, or vanished. Much love, Brandy Ellen.